Chapter 37, The Princess's Announcement. Vehart, 9:43 a.m. A few students were gathered in front of one of the Academy's main bulletin boards, their eyes locked on the massive notice pinned there. Seriously, am I really reading this right? That's what it says, dude. Lucky. I don't know, considering what happened to them, I'm not sure I'd call it luck. You've got a point. The notice was clear and drew everyone's attention. In the name of Vehart Academy, we thank our students for their bravery and dedication. Princess Serafina Vealoria will be present in person to award the Vehart Merit Insignia to the selected first-year Class S students for their recent achievements. But still, weren't they lucky? I mean, if you think about it, no one died. True, and look at this, they're going to meet Princess Serafina Vealoria. Looking at it that way, maybe they really were lucky. Before he could finish, another student with light brown hair and grayish eyes grabbed him by the collar. Ha! What the hey, man, are you crazy? What did you just say? Well, the moment the boy realized who was holding him, all his fake bravery vanished into thin air, several students were injured, and one disappeared. Do you really think there was anything good about that? That's not what I meant. Then tell him, hey, Raiden. Relax. Another student appeared. He had dark hair and a light, casual smile. Placing a hand on Raiden's shoulder, he murmured, "These idiots aren't even worth their own time." Huff, Raiden let go of the student's collar, taking a deep breath. If you're upset, try dueling me. And I won't go easy on you. I'll pass. I'm not in the mood to pick up a sword. Without paying any more attention to the three students, the two of them disappeared down the hallway. Damn, that was close. Muttered the student who'd been grabbed, adjusting his clothes. Clothes? I think we just made it onto the blacklist of none other than Raiden and Darien. Crap, why did he get mad? Was it because of the commoner? How should I know? Maybe he saw the commoner's name on the list, got pissed he's in the same group, and took it out on us. He's missing, remember? PFT. Haha, true. The three chuckled quietly as they began to walk away, two of them still laughing while the other shook his head. You guys are hopeless. At the same moment. In the classroom, during the break, Elena was sitting among a few girls gathered around Lyra, who seemed to be a true social magnet. They laughed, chatting excitedly while waiting for the next class to start. Wow, so we're really going to meet the princess? Looks like it. Aren't you excited, Elena? Elena, however, was staring upward, her gaze lost on the ceiling like she was in another world. Hello? Anyone in there? He. Elena looked so distracted, Lyra let out a soft giggle, glancing at Elena. Seriously, she looks like she's recovering from a night of drinking. Hey, don't say that about Elena, what's the problem? She's already 17, any noble can drink at that age. Yeah, but Elena would never do something so vulgar. She's from the Elrian family, right, Elena? Finally, Elena blinked a few times and came back to herself, her body still complaining from the night before. Yes. I'd never do something so improper, especially here at the academy. See? I told you, I think I overdid it yesterday. I haven't done that since my last life. How did that girl even put up with me? Elena glanced around, noticing all the girls gathered close to Lyra. Luckily for her, Lyra only seemed to attract other girls, forming a circle much less annoying than if there were nosy boys mixed in. Yes, like I was saying, it's Princess Serafina Vealoria, Serafina? What's so great about her? Elena didn't care much about academy news, but of course, she knew that the students who had faced the Dark Mages would be rewarded with the Vehart Merit Insignia, all handed out personally by the princess. For nobles like her, maybe it wasn't such a big deal, but for lower house nobles or commoners, it could open doors to a completely different life. Still, any student from Vehart already left the academy with higher status than a regular commoner. Should I try improving my relationship with the princess? As a member of the Elrian family, known for being blessed by the spirit of fire, Elena had already met the princess a few times in this life, though only at formal events. Their relationship was nothing more than pure formality. And she knew she'd need connections in the future. Honestly, part of her already wanted help right now. But her biggest source of help had been missing for 3 days. Elena stood up, smoothing the folds of her skirt with a light motion. The girls looked at her curiously. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to get some air," Lyra smiled, her cute and carefree expression unchanged. "All right. Don't be late for the next class." Elena just gave a discreet nod, turning toward the door, leaving the chatter and giggles behind as she slowly walked down the hallway. 3 hours later, somewhere hidden in the forest near the academy. "Ah, now this is the life, HOI, What the hell are you doing?" Kane floated calmly on the water, arms spread out, eyes half closed as he enjoyed the peaceful moment. On the other side, Saris hovered at a safe distance, clearly avoiding getting too close. "What do you mean, fairy? How could I go 3 days without a bath? I told you, my name is Saris. And couldn't you do this without being completely naked?" "H&M? I'm not, I've got underwear on." "Arg. Then why is that hanging on the tree?" "Ah, you drive me crazy." "Well, if you're not coming over here, it won't make any difference. But you're not even fully recovered to be swimming like this. What if you suddenly pass out because of your mana circulation?" "If I pass out, you'll pull me out of the water." What? No way." Saris shook her head, huffing as she floated even farther away. "This reckless idiot, I'm waiting at the usual spot." Muttering to herself, Saris flew off, leaving Kane alone. Looks like she really left." Kane closed his eyes again, letting his thoughts wander. "The academy showers are great, but they don't even come close." He was already feeling better. Of course, still far from being able to push himself like before. After all, he'd gone way past his limits in the last battle. TSK breaking limits? Who was the idiot that came up with that phrase? Kane had grown up playing and reading stories about protagonists who broke through barriers, who went beyond the impossible. But did people really understand what that meant? Breaking limits wasn't something glorious. It was something that took its toll, that left marks on the body, that created invisible scars. He had absorbed the Viralis core he got from Yen and had also completely filled his own mana core. And even so, he'd used more than his body could handle, and that came with a painful price. At that moment, Kane raised his hand, blocking the sunlight filtering through the trees, making his blood-red eyes gleam. He was still staring at his own hand when he tried channeling his vector energy into it, feeling the faint warmth running across his skin. But suddenly, a sharp jolt shot through his whole body. Arg, damn, the sound slipped between his teeth as he felt all his muscles fail for a moment. Even though he was already awake, able to walk and even laugh at Saris, that didn't mean he was ready to use his powers again. Looks like she wasn't exaggerating when she told me not to try. What would really happen if I passed out here? Kane got curious. He slightly raised his head, glancing over at where he had hung his clothes. Sigh, I think she really would leave me here to die. Finally out of the lake, he was drying himself off as best he could with the torn black shirt that was left of his uniform. The main jacket? He had completely written it off as clothing, it had been destroyed in the last fight. I hope I don't have to pay for another shirt later. With a low chuckle, he started walking along the path between the trees, heading toward the spot where he'd agreed to meet Saris. He knew what was waiting for him back at the academy, but right now, he wasn't in any rush. His biggest reward was already right in front of him. Thanks to Saris, his recovery was surprisingly fast. Since he could handle the pure mana she shared, the bond between the two allowed him to heal parts of his body that humans normally couldn't on their own. When Kane arrived at the spot, he was slightly surprised. Saris was sitting on a rock, knees pulled up to her chest, arms crossed over them. She stared at the landscape in silence, her small wings gently fluttering behind her back. They didn't need to exchange words. He could be stubborn, pretend indifference, but he knew exactly what she was feeling. She probably thought he wouldn't return to the forest anymore. Last time, he had promised to come back but only showed up when he needed help. To her, it might seem like he only came because he needed something, not because he truly wanted to. Kane stopped in front of her with a small playful smile tugging at his lips. So? Did you find it? Saris turned slowly, surprised by his voice. Ha? Find what? Ha ha. I don't know. You're the one who looks like you're searching for something. Oof. You're really an idiot. With a sigh, Saris slid off the rock, starting to float in the air. Alright, let's get started then. Kane took a deep breath, feeling the weight and lightness of the moment all at once. This time, I'll do it right. Chapter 37.5 Dracula Day. Special, World Dracula Day. Kane was sitting in a chair in the library next to Marco during Professor Melis's class. He was taking notes. At least, that's what anyone would think. But in reality, he was just trying to make the best drawing he could. With an impatient sigh, Kane tore out the page and crumpled it. Ha? You're just gonna throw it away? Marco asked, leaning over curiously. I'll leave the idea for someone else. On the table, Marco noticed another drawing in Kane's notebook. Hey, what's this? Kane slowly lifted his hand off the paper, revealing a drawing that sent chills down Marco's spine. It was a pale face, intense red eyes, surrounded by twisted shadows. The sharp fangs were drawn in detail, and in the background, a hooded figure holding a black staff. Kane stared at him with piercing eyes, which only made it worse. You drew Dracula? Ha? You know him? Of course I know. Marco whispered, almost swallowing hard. He was said to be the worst of all mages. They say he was the only one in the world with an unusual ability. Unusual ability? Yeah, they said he could steal someone's mana through blood. Through blood? Wasn't he just drinking the blood? No, why would he do that? Because in the original story, that's exactly how it was? Kane thought, almost laughing inside. At that moment, Elena and Lyra approached. Hey, if you're done reading, give me back the book. Kane was sitting with the book open on the table, the very one Elena wanted. What? You didn't even read it? She noticed he had only used the book as a base for drawing. Did I say I wanted to read it? Alright, here, take it. Kane said, closing the book. But as he did, Marco and Lyra saw the title and immediately froze. Dracula, the Cursed Heir. Lyra looked at Elena and said in a small, slightly scared voice, You really want to read that book today, Elena? What's the problem? Well, it's just that today, say it already. Today is the day Dracula's sun feeds. A deadly silence fell between them. No one said anything, no one even breathed. Until Elena broke the tension, laughing. Oh, you two are just imagining things, right, Kay? When she turned to look, Kane was already on his feet, walking quickly away with hurried steps. What's his problem? Lyra and Marco swallowed hard, exchanging glances. What? Don't tell me you two, how could we not, Elena? Lyra answered in quick whispers. He fits the description. Have you ever seen anyone like him? Elena wanted to laugh, but stopped. Lyra had a point, actually, several. Light hair, blood-red eyes, skin pale as cold porcelain, that wasn't normal. And today, somehow, Kane seemed even paler than usual. Elena placed a hand on her head, feeling like this was going to turn into a huge headache. Damn, not again, it was already the third time that day. Kane sighed, frustrated. This was getting way out of hand. He tried, and tried, but he just couldn't control it. Maybe I should take something to ease this. He was walking quickly through the academy's hallways, where the afternoon light cast long shadows on the stone walls. His footsteps echoed fast down the corridor, his gaze stuck to the floor, distracted until... Thump! Damn! The impact made him take a small step back, feeling a light jolt in his shoulder. When he looked up, he saw Yen crouched in front of him, picking up a book that had fallen on the floor. "You're such an idiot. Didn't you see me?" Kane let out a crooked little laugh, even though he was sweating cold. "Me? You're the one distracted with that dumb book." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "What did you say?" Nothing, forget it." Kane slipped past her and kept walking. He ran a hand over his sweaty forehead, letting out a low grumble as his thoughts tangled up. "Damn, this is getting worse." Yen watched him leave, carefully adjusting the book in her arms. She stared at the title with a raised eyebrow. "Dark Blood, Dracula's Legacy." Could it be? She lightly bit her lip, pressing her fingers against the cover, feeling the cold leather under her nails. She shook her head slowly, trying to push away the strange thoughts, even though they were already clinging to her. "No. I'm just imagining things." 15 minutes later, boys' bathroom. Kane was sitting on the toilet, face buried in his hands, letting out a long sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Damn, why is this happening to me? He mentally went over everything he'd eaten at breakfast. The only odd thing had been that stuffed bread with, what was it again? Dried meat? No, it had a weird name. Oh, right, spicy fish paste with blue jelly topping. Seriously? Who the hell came up with that? He sighed again, letting out a muffled chuckle, like he was laughing at his own bad luck. It makes no sense. I always eat well. Finally, he pushed his body forward and slowly stood up, adjusting his clothes with automatic movements as he buttoned his pants. Hope I don't have to come back here again. But just as he placed his hand on the doorknob to leave, a loud and treacherous sound echoed straight from inside his stomach. Grew off. Kane froze in place. For a moment, he just took a deep breath, feeling his shoulders drop in pure defeat. Aha damn ittttt. == 3 hours later. 8:23 p.m. It was night, and Marco was standing in front of Elena's room, tapping his foot nervously on the floor. So he hasn't come back yet? No. I already knocked on his door, even opened it because he always leaves it unlocked, but he wasn't there. Damn, is all this really true? Elena was starting to sweat, trying to push away the dark thoughts. What if all of this wasn't just coincidence? Behind her, Lyra was trembling slightly, her voice coming out in a panicked whisper. I need to hide. I need to hide. The legend was simple and clear. On the night of May 26th, he would awaken, searching for the one who mattered most to him, to take their blood. If he couldn't find them, he would simply die. Don't exaggerate, Lyra, even if it were true, he wouldn't come after you. How can you be so sure? You didn't see how he reacted when I arrived. Maybe it wasn't because of you, Marco cut in, giving Elena a meaningful look. What? Me? Elena shot a sharp glare at Lyra, who was clasping her hands dramatically in a fake prayer. Alright, your sacrifice won't be in vain, cut it out, Lyra. What do you think, Marco? I don't know either, but it's just a theory. If it's true, there's nothing we can do. If he doesn't take someone's blood, he might die. Damn, if that's how it is, someone needs to step up, right? Let's split up and look for him. We need to settle this as soon as possible. What is it, Elena? Ah, nothing. Elena didn't say anything else, but her eyes glimmered subtly for a second. She could have sworn she felt something. A subtle current of mana seemed to have passed right by them. No, it wasn't subtle, it was strong and oppressive. The kind of pressure that made her skin tingle, like she was being touched by invisible eyes. Elena knew that sensation, she knew it all too well. It felt like someone had used concealment magic right there, near them, and the presence vanished too quickly to be caught. But who could it be? She felt a chill run down her spine, her thoughts tangled up by an unsettling suspicion she couldn't yet name. Farther down the hallway, across from Elena's room, Yen was sitting on the floor with her head down, listening to every word of their conversation. She had heard everything. If Kane really was a vampire, she couldn't even imagine it properly. But she knew one thing, she couldn't just let him die. But what could she do? She wasn't even close to Kane. Wait, they didn't need to be close for a long time, it was the importance she had to him that mattered, right? If she thought about it, Kane had always shown he cared about her. He had helped her several times, stood by her side when no one else did, even nearly died once trying to save her. A faint warmth rose through her body, making her face heat up. But then, with a quick shake of her head, she chased away the intrusive thoughts. No. I'm only doing this to save him, nothing more. Later. 32 minutes later. Ugh, man, I need to rest. Kane was walking slowly through the academy, pale-skinned and heavy-eyed. He was exhausted, like he'd spent days carrying rocks on his back without a break. I guess I really need to start paying attention to what I eat. Outside, in the quiet courtyard bathed in moonlight, Kane heard only the sound of his own footsteps, until a soft voice broke the air. Kane! He jumped, his hand flying to his chest as he let out a deep sigh. It's you! I don't have time for jokes right now, I know, that's why, let's just do this already. The figure appeared in front of him, her face slightly flushed. I didn't think I'd actually do this, but, with a hesitant motion, she loosened the collar of her shirt, gently revealing the pale skin of her neck. Her cheeks were red, as if they'd been painted by the moon's own touch. Don't overdo it, it's my first time doing this, so, be gentle. Kane stood frozen, just staring, his heart racing wildly. For a moment, he seriously wondered if this was all a hallucination. Damn! I must have died in the bathroom after all.